Author's note. Where Oak Hollow Sleeps is a work of fiction. This story touches on themes of addiction, alcoholism, grief, and loss. While I do not condone unhealthy or toxic behaviors, I believe in the importance of holding space for them, of having conversations that don't shy away from pain, but instead offer empathy and encourage healing. Above all, I advocate for therapy, mental health support, and kindness for yourself and others. If you're struggling, please know that you are not alone. Reach out to a professional for help. I hope you also find beauty, tension, and perhaps a little magic in this story. Thank you for reading. Chapter 1. Flicker. There was a woman so beautiful that she could be mistaken for a dream. Her golden hair cascaded in thick, wavy strands down her back, catching the sunlight like silk spun from starlight. It shimmered with every movement, framing her soft face and gentle smile. People often said that looking into her eyes was like gazing at the ocean, clear, endless, and impossibly blue. They used to mistake her for Arabella's older sister, never believing someone so youthful and radiant could be her mother. Her low and melodic voice carried across the spring air like a lullaby meant for the earth itself. The sky was painted baby blue, with soft clouds drifting lazily above a wide-open field that whispered secrets through the grass. As she sang, her fingers combed gently through the golden strands of her daughter's hair. "You are my sunshine, my darling sunshine. You make me happy W." Arabella stirred, blinking up at her mother's face. She was just a little girl again, her cheek warm against her mother's lap, sunlight dancing across her lashes. Her mother reached down and brushed a lock of hair from her forehead, smiling gently. "Arabella," she whispered sweetly. Again, softer, "Arabella." The field shimmered, and color bled from the sky. Her mother's voice began to fade, like a melody lost to the wind. "Arabella." A jolt. Arabella gasped awake. "Arabella," her father's voice cracked like thunder. "Look at you. You're a mess, wake up. It's 6 in the evening." The room was spinning. Her pillow was damp with drool, and her tongue was dry and bitter. Her hair clung to her face in messy, knotted curls, and the sour sting of alcohol lingered on her skin and breath like a second layer of regret. Her father yanked the curtains open in one dramatic sweep, letting golden evening light flood the room. It cast everything in a cruel, honest glow. Arabella groaned and pulled a fuzzy blanket over her head, hiding in the chaos she'd made of her bed, a kingdom of comfort built to keep the world out. "Arabella, enough!" Mr. Winslow snapped, striding to the edge of the enormous bed. "You cannot disappear into this nest forever." The bed was an explosion of textures and colors, satin sheets, velvet throws, fleece blankets, stuffed animals in every shape and species. Some pillows glittered. Others were floral. A plush avocado was wedged beneath her knee, and a sequined dolphin flopped near her elbow. With an exasperated grunt, Mr. Winslow began tearing through the layers, tossing pillows left and right like a man digging through rubble. A stuffed alpaca went flying. A pink pillow hit the floor with a shimmer. He muttered under his breath as he flung a massive turtle across the room. "This is what I get for spoiling my children," grown adults hiding in toy chests. "Papa." Arabella moaned, barely lifting her head. "Stop assaulting Mr. Wiggles." "Mr. Wiggles can't help me find your brother," he snapped, hurling the poor stuffed rabbit to the floor without a hint of remorse. Arabella finally sat up, blinking against the light, and took in her father's face. He was still in his suit from the company gala that morning, though the tie hung loose and his eyes were rimmed with panic. He was usually gentle with her, endlessly patient, but this version of Mr. Winslow was cracking. "I didn't want to see you like this," he said, his breath shallow. "My God. What have you done to yourself?" She began, voice hoarse. But he held up a hand and cut her off. "Dorian's missing." The words sank like a stone. "I've been calling him all day. He missed the annual gala. He was supposed to give the opening speech, but never showed. Not at the Winslow Tower. Not at the estate. His assistant hasn't heard from him. His driver either. He just vanished. Arabella blinked, heart starting to pound in her ears. Wait, what? Mr. Winslow stepped closer and crouched before her, gripping her shoulders. His voice dropped, but the intensity stayed. The last anyone saw him was last night, helping you get home. His chauffeur said he dropped you off, and that Dorian was with you. Arabella stared at him, mind foggy, fragments of memory spinning like loose papers in a storm. What about his phone? She whispered. I have it, Mr. Winslow snapped, reaching into his coat and pulling out Dorian's phone. He left it in the car. The one time I need him to be reachable, he leaves his damn phone behind. He ran a hand through his hair, then turned back to her, voice breaking. Did he say anything to you once you got home? Arabella closed her eyes and tried to remember. The door. The arm was around her shoulders. His voice, low and tired, as he helped her into bed. Sometimes I wish she were here, she whispered. That's what he said. I'm sorry, Papa. That's all I remember. Her chest twisted. She felt sick. Truly sick. Mr. Winslow's anger broke into something softer. He knelt beside her again, gently took her hand in his, and squeezed it. We've looked everywhere. This isn't like him, Arabella. Please. Try to remember anything. Arabella's vision blurred. Her stomach twisted. And without warning, she lurched forward and vomited. Mr. Winslow stood abruptly and called over his shoulder, Miss Maddie. The field behind the Winslow estate was quiet. Too quiet. The wind had stilled, and the early summer haze clung to the horizon like a ghost that wouldn't leave. Arabella walked barefoot through the tall grass, the hem of her linen dress brushing the wildflowers as she clutched a rolled-up magazine in one hand and a mug of cold tea in the other. The grass tickled her ankles, whispering secrets, the air thick with the scent of sun-warmed earth. At the center of the field stood the oak tree, old and sprawling, its limbs twisted like a cathedral ceiling, its roots deep and wide. Beneath it sat a smooth and straightforward tombstone, nestled in the shade as if the earth protected it. Evelyn Winslow. Arabella knelt in front of the stone, folding her legs beneath her. She set the mug in the grass and unrolled the magazine across her lap. The latest issue of Oak Hollow Monthly had her brother's face printed beneath a harsh, bold headline. Dorian Winslow, 26, Willow Oak graduate, heir to Winslow Industries, missing. Last seen at the family estate. No evidence of foul play. The family offers a substantial reward for information. She read it aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. Mama, it's been a month. The wind stirred, just once, like a sigh from something too tired to speak. She closed the magazine and laid it at the base of the headstone, her fingers lingering on the glossy paper before letting go. We've done everything, the police, the whole community. Even the press has been kind, for once, well, so far. They've searched every trail, every lake, even the old rail yards where we used to hang out a lot as kids. And still, nothing. Her gaze drifted up into the swaying branches of the oak, where sunlight filtered through the leaves like stained glass. It was the tree her mother had loved, the one Evelyn called the heart of the land. Papa's still holding on, she said softly. He's trying to act strong, like the company can keep going, like the world isn't collapsing under our feet. But he barely sleeps. He stopped going to important social and business events. He spends his days locked in the office reviewing old contracts, trying to run an empire that was supposed to be Dorian's. Arabella pressed her hands into the grass, grounding herself. Dorian was ready, Mama. He knew the rail system inside and out. He memorized the names of every neighborhood we built and every developer we partnered with. He even planned a new gallery downtown in your name. Her voice trembled. And now he's gone. She brushed a few leaves from the top of the tombstone, her fingers grazing the cool stone. I don't mean to sound awful, Mama, but I really hope he's not with you. The breeze picked up again, ruffling her hair, then fell still. She paused, swallowing hard, I'm not ready for him to be gone. Not both of you. Not so soon. She folded her arms around her knees, pulling them to her chest. You always told me to trust my instincts. Said I had your intuition. But it's all muddled now. She lowered her head, voice nearly lost to the quiet. Please, Mama, where can I find Dorian? A pause. Could you show him to me? The words felt foolish, like a child wishing on a star that had already burned out, but they slipped past her lips anyway, fragile and aching. Arabella sat in the stillness, waiting for an answer that didn't come. The silence that followed was thick. Then, something shifted. The air grew heavier, charged. A breeze rolled in, stronger this time, coiling through the tall grass and rustling the oak's limbs like whispered words. A few acorns fell around her, thudding softly into the dirt. Thunder rolled in the distance, low and uncertain, rumbling over the hills like a warning too old to be understood. Arabella stood rooted to the spot, her heart echoing the gathering heaviness in the air. The once vibrant blue sky seemed to bleed into shades of gray, dark clouds swirling ominously above, as if nature itself was mirroring her turmoil. She could feel the impending storm in her bones, the charged electricity prickling beneath her skin. I need a drink, she muttered. Arabella inhaled deeply, the cool night air cutting sharply in her lungs. The watchtower loomed above her like a rusted sentinel, guarding a forgotten corner of the world. Wind whispered through the hollow rails, stirring ghosts she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Yet here she was, drawn back to this place like a thread pulled by memory. The wood creaked beneath her, and metal groaned in the cold. But beneath those sounds was something older, echoes of laughter, dares tossed into the dark, and small hands brushing chipped paint as she and Dorian climbed higher, always higher, convinced they were invincible. She could almost hear it still, his voice, soft and full of mischief. The rail yard had been their kingdom, its decay a backdrop to their boundless imagination. They'd spent nights chasing stories through rust and ruin, seeing magic in every abandoned freight car. They ruled over rust and shadow, blind to the way time erodes even the brightest things. But time takes everything, even magic. Dorian had drifted into college, then the foundation, then silence. Now, only questions remained. Staring out at the twisted tracks below, Arabella felt the ache not just of his absence, but of the girl she used to be, the one who saw beauty in ruin. The one who still believed. You said you'd come back here if you ever needed to think, she whispered into the dark. So where the hell are you? No answer. Just the wind moaning through broken glass. She drank. The whiskey burned down her throat, but the warmth never reached her chest. Then, something moved. A flicker across the tracks. A ripple of shadow, impossibly smooth, impossibly fast. Her breath caught. She froze. Again. A blur. A shape was tearing across the yard. And then she saw someone. A woman, tall, wild, black hair whipping behind her like smoke. She moved like a creature of instinct and flame, flipping over rusted train cars with impossible precision, landing silently atop a crumbling container. She turned and locked eyes with Arabella. Something in her gaze, calm, ancient, impossibly knowing, made Arabella's heart hammer. Then the shadow came. It bled into view behind the crates, vaguely human, glitching like a corrupted file. Limbs bent wrong. Movements jittered. It pulsed with a hunger that had no face. The woman moved first. She dropped from the car, slammed her palm to the ground. Whoosh. Blue fire erupted around her. Not warm. Not natural. It lit the yard in ghost light, casting long, shivering shadows. Arabella gasped. There it is, she shouted before stopping herself, pointing at the shape. The woman didn't look back. She ran, the fire curling behind her like a vengeful comet. Arabella hesitated. Then she bolted down the stairs. Wood screamed beneath her. Gravel clawed her feet. The cold gnawed her skin as she chased flickers of fire into the maze of iron and rot. Rain began to fall, whispering at first, then harder and louder. Thunder cracked, distant but growing. She vaulted a broken fence, ducked under a sagging sign. Danger, rusted and forgotten. Screech. Not metal. Not human. Something wrong. Something watching. She ducked behind a rail car, heart pounding in her throat. Peeking out, she saw the woman again, standing in a clearing between two dead engines. In her hand was a black orb, pulsing with violet lightning. Shadows swirled around it like it was alive, restrained only by the tendrils of blue flame curling tightly around it. The woman held it up to eye level. Her face was unreadable, exhausted, focused, victorious. Black wisps wriggled from the orb, trying to flee. The fire coiled tighter. A shriek. Half human. Half static. A dying signal from somewhere not meant for this world. Then silence. The flame flared bright, and vanished. Arabella gasped, stepping back. A stone cracked beneath her foot. Crunch. The woman snapped toward her, sharp as a blade. For the first time, Arabella saw her clearly, hazel eyes, shadowed by thick brows. Tan skin, lean and coiled with quiet power. Her build was slim, but there was tension in her posture, like a sprinter waiting for the gun. Bangs cut short across her forehead, plastered down by the rain. The word YEP stretched across a soaked white shirt, barely visible beneath a scuffed, fitted leather jacket. A short black leather skirt clung to her hips, heavy with water. Rain streaked down her cheeks, melding with sweat and stormlight. She didn't just stand there, she radiated heat, movement, life. Fiercely alive in a way Arabella had forgotten how to be. The woman smirked. "I'm guessing that wasn't part of your night," she said, voice smooth and razor-edged. "But hey, hope you enjoyed the show." Arabella took a step forward, heart pounding. "What the hell was that? Who even are you?" But the smirk vanished. The woman turned, no hurry, no explanation, and disappeared into the dark like she belonged to it. "Wait!" Arabella cried, stumbling after her. "Please!" She ran. Too fast. Too desperate. Her foot caught on the tracks. Crack. Pain shot up her ankle. She collapsed into gravel, soaked and breathless. Rain came harder, like cold knives on her back. Amid the relentless downpour, Arabella found herself lost in a whirlwind of memories and emotions. Each thought pressed against her like a bruise. She had always been the girl with the perfect life, dancing through sunny days filled with laughter, the warmth of family gatherings, and dreams of a bright future. But now, sitting in the cold, biting rain, everything had unraveled. The sharp pain in her ankle reminded her that life could shift in an instant. 8 months ago, she had been filled with hopeful anticipation, spending quality time with her mother, father, and Dorian. She was finishing up her semester of college and preparing for a family vacation, which ended up not happening due to her mother's sudden and unexpected illness. She had just 1 semester left, just a handful of classes standing between her and graduation. But none of it seemed to matter anymore. Instead of sitting in lecture halls or walking the familiar paths of Willow Oak University, Arabella spent her days in the quiet stillness of her mother's room, refusing to be anywhere else. Her mother, ever the scholar, had begged her not to pause her studies. She wanted Arabella to finish on time, to chase her future with the same fire she once had. But Arabella couldn't. Wouldn't. The thought of being away, even for a moment, filled her with a fear she couldn't explain. And so she stayed. She became her mother's shadow, her nurse, her warmth on the days when the pain was too much. Every morning, Arabella would cook for her, sometimes simple soups, other times dishes her mother guided her through with soft instructions and trembling fingers. And on the days when grief crept in too close, Arabella would call the chef, just to give herself space to breathe. Even when it wasn't needed, she would decorate the room. She brought in fresh flowers and aesthetic vintage furniture, hung and changed paintings she would get at auctions or make herself, anything to fill the space with joy and more like home. They engaged in various card and board games, explored a variety of teas together, and enjoyed singing in unison, anything to pass the time and distract from the silence that threatened to settle like dust. Arabella would laugh, smile, tease her mother gently, and speak with lightness in her voice, even when her heart felt like it was collapsing under the weight of uncertainty. But when the house fell quiet at night, when there were no more smiles to wear, Arabella cried alone. Curled up on the floor of her childhood bedroom or hunched in the kitchen, she let the sobs come, the kind that hollowed her out. She was scared. Scared that her mother wouldn't make it. Scared of a world where the strongest woman she knew, the one who hiked trails, ran early morning lectures, danced through life with boundless energy, could no longer even walk without help. Her mother had always been a force. A professor at Willow Oak University. An alumna. A storyteller. The woman who met Arabella's father on campus grounds during spring semester and never looked back. She had shaped lives, challenged minds, and raised Arabella to chase dreams with reckless determination. Arabella was trying, desperately, to outrun the memories. To clear her mind of the ache, the images, the fragile hope that had withered day by day. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her flask, shaking it gently. Empty. She stared at it. Held it in both hands, as if it could give her something more than a bitter reflection of herself in its dull silver curve. Her thoughts drifted, inevitably, unrelentingly, to Dorian. She remembered idolizing him from the very beginning. Dorian, her big brother, her compass, her constant, had always been larger than life in her eyes. When she was a little girl, she trailed behind him like a shadow, clumsy in her oversized boots, never far from where he was riding horses, casting fishing lines into sun-dappled creeks, or lying beneath trees with a book cracked open on his chest. No matter what he was doing, Arabella wanted to be there with him. He never minded. He never told her to go away or to stop asking questions. Instead, he shared everything. He tied her fishing knots with calloused fingers. He held the reins steady so she wouldn't fall. He paused between chapters to explain the stories she didn't yet understand. Even as they grew older and her world expanded beyond his, Arabella never stopped orbiting him. She'd discovered her own interests, art, music, late-night walks under the stars, but Dorian remained the gravity that grounded her. No matter how busy he got, no matter how far his ambitions pulled him, he always carved out time for her. A quick coffee run, a shared study session, a walk across campus. Just enough to remind her, I'm still here. When he graduated from Willow Oak University, standing tall and proud as valedictorian, Arabella had cried. Not just from pride, but from awe. His words, spoken with clarity and quiet conviction, ignited something in her. That day, she filled out her application to Willow Oak without hesitation. She wanted to walk the same paths he had, chase the same light he followed. He had always been her guiding star, showing her what was possible, shining even in her darkest moments. But now the sky felt empty. The once whole picture of her family had shattered, leaving jagged pieces she couldn't put back together. Her brother was missing. The calls had stopped. The trail had gone cold. No explanations. No goodbyes. Just silence. And silence was cruel. She stood alone in the rail yard, the storm rolling in like a grieving god. Lightning split the sky in jagged veins, illuminating the ruin around her in fleeting, ghostly bursts. Thunder followed, cracking through the air like a gavel announcing judgment. Each rumble felt like a cry from the universe, a reminder of how far she had fallen from the girl who once believed in unbreakable bonds. Her tears came without permission, mingling with the rain that clung to her skin and soaked her clothes. She didn't sob. She didn't scream. She just sat there, trembling, hoping the storm would carry her back to when everything made sense. Back to Dorian. Back to her mother. Now, she had only questions. And the thunderstorms only answered back. The sound of footsteps. Soft. Deliberate. Measured. She didn't lift her head. But she noticed the rain wasn't hitting her anymore. She blinked, boots in the gravel. Arabella looked up. The same woman from earlier. Standing above her, dry beneath the umbrella's curve, a shadow against the storm. She knelt, hand extended. "There's a bad storm coming," the woman said, voice low, steady. "I don't know about you, but I'm terrified of storms. So let's move. Now." Arabella reached for her, her hand shaking. The woman caught her wrist gently. Then, with surprising ease, she lifted Arabella onto her back. A piggyback. Strong arms, steady legs. Arabella's face pressed against leather and warmth. She smelled sweat. Rain. And faintly, alcohol. "Damn, girl," the woman muttered. "You reek." Arabella was fading in and out of consciousness. The woman carried her through the yard's wreckage, boots crunching against time-worn tracks. But something new stirred in Arabella's chest. Not warmth. Not hope. Just a spark. And sparks can start fires.